So anyway, we have a second guest, and I think that he is already here with
Oh,
us.
good. Good. Our
And
second guest.
I'm so excited. You go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, Jonathon Chase is going to join us now. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 14. He dropped out of school at the age of 16 to become a professional musician. And he has continued to do that over the last 20 years. So he's been successful at that. Um, he has worked as a mentor with kids, teens, and adults on the spectrum, primarily those that are verbal and Asperger's, um, on the transition to adulthood, independence, and social goals. He also does some fun, nerdy things with his clients. So we'll talk to him about that. He consults with families, helps them evaluate their household routines, and writing IEP goals. So he also has done a TED Talk, which was fascinating. So we're going to talk to him about that. So let's welcome Jonathon to the show.
Hello.
Hello, Jonathon.
Hello.
You brought your music with you.
Yeah, it's my fidget.
I love it.
We're in for a treat.
I need something
Great,
to do with
Jonathan.
my hands on all these Zoom calls, so
I love it.
this works.
Well, Jonathon, tell us about your diagnosis at the age of 14. What was it and how did that come about?
So I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school, and this strange lady I didn't know started following me from class to class, sitting behind me and taking notes, which is a little creepy. And then I got suspicious, and they called me into the principal's office, and my parents were there, and the lady was there, so I thought I was in trouble. And she told me that she was the autism specialist, and she'd been following me around and taking notes, and that she diagnosed me on the autism spectrum.
Wow.
So once I was diagnosed, the school then said, now we understand you and we want to help. But I'd had a really rough time for my whole childhood with staff abuse and just bullying. When I was in the 6th grade, the staff locked me in a closet multiple times. So by high school, I felt like the staff didn't understand me and they didn't care. So it was offensive that now they wanted to help me. So they put me in the Troubled Kids program, because obviously that's where people with autism belong. So my friends were drug dealers and car thieves and stuff like that. So I needed to get away from all of that. So ironically, I started working as a professional musician in bars when I was 16 to get away from people who were drinking and doing drugs.
Interesting. I'm wondering though, now in your work, you are somebody who's pivotal at providing support that's really meaningful for students. Did having that horrible experience of being bullied and traumatized, did that sort of shape what you do now?
Yeah, I feel like I know what it's like to feel alone and to feel like nobody really has your back or nobody can relate to the stuff that you're going through. And so I think sometimes, how different would my life have been? How differently would things have gone if I just had somebody there who listened and understood and was advocating for me? So I felt like that's my purpose, is to try to provide that so the next generation doesn't have to go through the stuff that my generation did.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I'm sure that your own experience has really helped you to mentor and help others, Jonathon. You joined the board of the Autism Society of Oregon when you were just in your 20s.
Yeah.
How did that experience shape you into becoming who you are now?
Well, I'd never explored the autism world before. And I was in Nashville at a music camp, and I got tricked into getting in front of a group of people as a guest speaker, which I was not expecting and had never spoken about anything in public before. But they tricked me. So I didn't know what to do, so I spoke about my autism diagnosis and what it was like sort of being on spectrum in the music industry. And so I connected with all of these musicians, and we talked about that and what we had in common. And so I came back to Portland feeling like maybe that was something to explore. And it just so happened that the Autism Society of Oregon had an opening. So I applied for the board, and I was the first person with autism to serve on the board.
Amazing.
So I learned so much about nonprofit work and collaboration, and that is what sort of led me to eventually start speaking publicly and then start my own consulting business.
Wow. I want to know about these nerdy things that you do with your clients. Tell us a little bit about that. And also I understand that you do work at Camp Okadoka. What's the name of it?
Odakoda.
Odakoda. I was
You're
close.
close.
I was in the neighborhood. But tell us what, like when you say nerdy things, what are you talking about?
So I get to be a professional nerd. I build medieval weapons that are built to scale, so there's real history there. And then I run battle groups designed to accommodate people on spectrum. So we play capture the flag, and we have team battles. We have big open melees where they're swinging foam swords and axes and shields and spears.
Our producer wants to know about LARPing. I have no idea what that is.
LARPing is live action role play.
Oh.
So a lot of LARPing groups use replica weapons for medieval battle.
So is that what you're doing then or not?
My group is more focused on the fighting than the role playing.
Okay.
And my gear is extra padded and heavily engineered to be safe. So even if we've got little guys or people who are still, they don't have the best motor control, there's still not a risk that somebody learning how to play is going to get injured.
Yeah. I wouldn't even have thought of that. But that's amazing.
Yeah. I've spent, about 20 years now sort of perfecting these designs and figuring out how to make these groups work and how to teach skills through nerdy activities. If I told you that I was going to run a group for teenagers and we were going to work on advocacy and flexible thinking and teamwork, nobody would show up.
Yeah, everybody go to sleep.
But if I said, you're going to get to swing a battle axe and play capture the flag, now you're intrigued.
Right.
So once I get people there, then I can teach.
Amazing.
So we work on leadership and strategy and letting everybody have a voice and have a turn leading. And because the games go really quickly, everybody loses. So for a lot of us, we're competitive and we hate to lose. And so it's an experience to go through that in the real world. You play, you fight, you win, you lose, you get up and you do it again.
Right.
So it's fun, but it's also structured to teach some things that I think are really crucial for our population.
Amazing.
Jonathon, you recently became the voice of an animated character that is based on you. Can you tell us about that?
So it's not animated, it was in an audiobook. So my sort of mentor in the music industry, Victor Wooten from Bella Fleck and the Flecktones, I started out studying at his camps years ago, and we became friends over the years. So he wrote these books that are novels, it's fiction, but it's about his unique approach to music and life. And so throughout his story, different characters are inspired by real people. So I am sort of inspiring a character of the same name in Victor's books. So in his new book, The Spirit of Music, I am on the audiobook reading my character's part, and Victor talks a bit about autism and a lot about music and some of the things that he and I talk about a lot. So I've studied at his camps, and then before the pandemic, I went back and got to teach there, which is a dream come true to go back where I learned as a teacher and get to teach music teachers from all over the world about how to support their students across the autism spectrum or with other neurodiverse needs.
And Jonathan, you did a TED Talk. Tell us a little bit about that and how that happened.
Well, I had been speaking publicly for quite some time, but I wanted to do something different. So I decided to put together a melding of these two worlds that I work in, the autism world and the music world. So I wrote a performance piece that's all about how I see music visually in shapes and colors.
I love it. Now, you've been holding this instrument this whole time. Is there something, now we can't get into trouble with royalties. Is there something that you can play that's royalty free since you got it there?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, can we hear just a couple of minutes?
Yeah. Well, we could.
I know, I put you on the spot. But since you have it.
My amp just lost power, of course. Wow. The moment you said it.
Of course. And if you can't, it's okay. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. That's amazing. So, Jonathon, and you've got this amazing book that's out that I want to get the title of the book right. It's From Surviving to Thriving, Classroom Accommodations for Students on the Autism Spectrum. Tell us a little bit about the book and where we can get it.
Sure. It is on Amazon. I also do direct sales to schools or universities who order in bulk. And so the book is all about supporting gen ed teachers in the classroom. I found in speaking to lots of teachers and traveling around the country that teachers don't get enough tools, and the tools that we give them often aren't designed for the real world. So these teachers who are trying their hardest, they're overwhelmed with all these IEPs for all these different students. Everybody needs different things. And so one teacher has 12 people telling them how to redesign their classroom, which is impossible. So I set out to design and provide a system that changes the baseline environment of the classroom so the teacher can implement these tools on day one, use them universally for everybody. They don't have to single out students with autism or other special needs. It's going to address the common issues that are challenges that usually lead to crisis meetings or meltdowns or IEP adjustments. And if you bake that in on day one, you don't have to change how you do things when I show up. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to not just give tools, but do it in a way that respects that to teachers, the most valuable resource they have is time. And if we can give them some tools to support their students and give them back some of that, I think it's a lot more likely to be implemented and successful.
Amazing. You're amazing. So again, they can get the book on Amazon. And tell us about where can people follow you and find out more about you?
So I have a website at jonathonchase.net. I have a TED Talk that's on YouTube. And at least pre-COVID, I traveled all around speaking and presenting and teaching the material from my book. And I'm here in Portland. I'm running a sword fighting group next weekend. And I'm also at Camp Oda Coda every summer, which is the only overnight autism summer camp in Oregon.
Wow. Wow.
You're a
And
busy
what
man.
level? I'm sorry, you go ahead, Nancy.
Oh, I said you're a busy man.
Yeah. What level for people who are interested in Odacoda or your fight group, is there a requirement of a certain functionality? Do they need to be able to do certain things, or are you pretty much able to take everybody?
The summer camp has their own process. I run Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm the sword master.
Oh, of
But
course you are.
it is just the most beautiful place where
Okay.
this summer we'll have 80 teens from 10 to 18, all out in the woods, no cell service, no Wi-Fi, and no parents for 5
Oh,
days.
great.
I love it. Is somebody videotaping that?
We
You
have
need,
some videos online. It is
you need to
beautiful.
make a mini doc about that. I think people would be fascinated, right?
I
Yeah.
agree, Shannon.
And with my groups, I tend to work with more on the verbal side.
Okay.
So with Dungeons and Dragons, with sword fighting, they're more verbal social activities. But in the end, my goal is to support everybody as best I can.
Yeah. Well, I was so excited because somebody told me about you. They were on a panel with you, and they said, "Shannon, you got to interview this guy. He's just amazing." And if I'm honest here, Jonathan, you did not disappoint. You are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And how wonderful and how inspirational it is to see you navigating your life and now turning around and helping other young people navigate their life so that they don't have to go through some of the more traumatic things that you went through. That is very touching to me.
Yeah, I look at what we have now. We've got so many more services and supports and resources like this show that didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think we have no excuse to accept failure for this next generation. We just all have to put in the work to make sure they have the tools they need to be successful.
Amen to that.
Great to
Amen.
know you're there helping them along, Jonathan.
Well, we thank you so much for your time. And you continue to be a musician. Where might people see you play?
Right now, I just fill in with bands. Whoever calls me, I show up and play.
There you go. And if people would like to have you come and speak at their conference or at their school or to their group, where do they go to your website to be able
Yes,
to get you as a speaker? And tell us what that is again, the website?
jonathonchase.net, Net.
Thank you. And it is for those of you who are viewing as opposed to listening, it's there on the screen for you. jonathonchase.net. Jonathan, you're just amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank
Oh,
you,
thank you.
Jonathan. It's been wonderful having you today.
Thank you very much.
All right, you
Good
take
luck.
care.
Have fun this summer.